Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring my weekly review of the Vampire Diaries on the CW. This week we've seen Season 8, Episode 12, which is called What Are You? And so apologize as always. Work last night or busy with some other, weird stuff I have going on in my life. So couldn't get my review out on time, but of course I watched it the first chance I had today. And overall I really, really liked this episode. I thought it was really a good one. This final season has really been on the upswing, I think. I think it's only gotten better. I think it's definitely been an overall better season than, like I said before, I think it's overall been better than probably 5 through 7 at least. 5 and 6, it had standout moments for me. I love the Catherine stuff in 5, the final Elena stuff in 6. 7 even had, bits here and there that I liked, but I think they've really, sort of started bringing the season 8. This second half has been, pretty good, I think, so far. And it's only getting more and more intense as we near the finale. You guys understand we have episode 13, 14, 15, 16. 4 episodes left of TBD forever. I'm feeling it, I'm starting to get a little bit shaky, a little bit nervous here, in a good and bad way, I guess. So, yeah, this is a good episode, of course. This followed, last week's pretty crazy ending with Enzo's unfortunate death, but as well as Stefan, being injected with the cure and turned human. We open with Matt. He apparently has gotten into the armory somehow, and he runs into a lark. He doesn't know how he got there or anything. And Matt, throughout this episode, they're placing a little bit more importance on him, which I think if they've had Matt around this long, they probably have to find some way to give him a little bit more relevance, I guess. I've always wondered how Matt survived this long. I don't think he honestly would have. This is a real thing, but. At least giving that more importance might make, give it a little bit more sense, I guess. I liked Bonnie calling Damon, her telling him about Enzo, what Stefan did to him and such. And then we also have Stefan and, Caroline on the phone. Stephanie's sort of, shaking and all the memories of what he did for Cade, is flashing through his head, along with, anything else he's done, over his life and stuff like that, as always. And, something about Stefan people need to remember. It wasn't his fault, it wasn't his fucking choice, to kill Enzo or do any of that stuff. Cade, he was literally under Cade's control. He's literally a puppet of Cade's. He agreed to it for noble reasons. So, it seems like people forget that sometimes. I talked about that last week. It wasn't as bad this week with the characters. I didn't seem to personally have a grudge against it, Stefan quite as much. I watched the behind the scenes video for this episode, and Julie Pleck, she's even trying to place, this is the worst thing Stefan's ever done, so he's trying to live with this. I don't know if it's the worst thing he's ever done, but it's probably up there somewhere. But you'd have to go back and look through everything we've seen over the seasons and such. But it's really, are we just supposed to ignore that Stefan didn't have a choice in the matter either? Stefan's a good, person, we've seen that. We've seen him go through all this and grow, and we've seen his real nature on both sides of it. But, I don't know. So if Stefan is killed because, he feels like he needs to sacrifice himself to make up for it, or he feels like that's the only way, then that'll be a bit of a downer, because Stefan does deserve better. So I feel like one or at least one of the Salvatore brothers is probably going to sacrifice himself for the, final episode. It's just the way these things go. They get very bittersweet like that. But I hope Stefan at least, I don't know, he has to find some peace again. He deserves it. You got to remember that. We got to remember what we've seen the past 7 seasons, alright, guys? Cade, he but he visits Damon, I guess you could say. He needs the special book in exchange for Stefan's life, or else he wants Stefan dead by midnight. This book turns out to be what Matt's connected to, one of his ancestors in the past, Ethan. During the moment when the witches, were burned, with the whole bell thing and such. We see flashes of that in Matt's mind. He's linked to one of the ancestors. We see Sybil in the flashback, which is cool. It was kind of, I didn't like hearing that humming again. You're like, I don't know. But anyway, but the Matt stuff is alright in this episode. Like I said, I've never found Matt to be particularly useful on the show. I always thought they should have done more with him, but at least they're sort of giving him something to move the plot along, I guess. The flashbacks were alright. I kind of like seeing one of Bonnie's other ancestors as well, and I really liked Matt and Bonnie's scene at the end of the episode, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So the Matt stuff was alright in this one. We had Abby, returning and visiting Bonnie, of course, Bonnie's mother. Also, fun fact, the actress who plays Abby is actually married to Joseph Morgan, who plays, Klaus in real life. So yeah, that'd be a bit awkward. But characters versus, reality, so, but still, kind of fun. Whoops, notes fell. Anyway, so let's see. But it's good to see her come back. She's one of the ones I sort of figured, but it's still a nice, touch at the time, I think. And we have Damon, of course, trying to get to the armory to get the book, and of course he bumps into Alaric, Mad, and the assistant and such, and Damon is injected and knocked out. I felt like that was a little bit, easy. Damon should have seen that coming. He should have been able to block it. He could have, ran through all of them if he really wanted to get to the book, honestly, but Damon's not really going to try to attack him if he doesn't have to and such, but sometimes I feel like characters like Damon and others, sort of get, incapacitated a little bit too easily, but, we don't need to go into that right now. Meanwhile, with Bonnie and Abby, she thinks Enzo is trying to reach out to her somehow. She keeps on briefly hearing his voice in her head, and I think that might be a possibility because you hear it a couple times throughout the episode, and Abby later tells Bonnie that she opened this door to darkness, some kind of, deep abyss or beyond or something like that. We don't know. It's implied to be basically hell. But whenever they bring this stuff up, I just think Catherine. I know I talk about Catherine in every single Vampire Diaries video I do, but come on, it'd be so easy. This is like the perfect step to have Catherine reappear in the finale as well. So I hope they do. Hope Catherine, makes it. That'd put the finale over the top for me. But we don't need to talk about that again this week if you don't want to. But if you do, I have no problem talking about Miss Pierce. But anyway. But, good scenes between the two of them. They do have good chemistry together, acting-wise. I told you about Matt, dreaming with his ancestor and such, and it turns out the book is actually potentially a key to figure out how to actually kill Cade, the King of Hell. So that's definitely a little bit important, as Damon said. And unfortunately, the book is burned, and we don't really get much out of it besides this backup plan that Damon had. It turns out that Sybil had actually shown him a weapon, that she sort of had as like an insurance policy against Cade. So Damon wasn't just going into it, to save his brother, which is justified. It makes sense. Of course, Damon's selfish, but if it was with anyone else, they'd also try to save the person closest to them too, however they could. So this should be that weapon should be interesting. And Stefan, meanwhile, he's taking Caroline. He's trying to find this little girl's mother who he had left for dead recently, and they do find her body. She is still alive, however, and they're able to heal her. Stefan is attacked by her though and injured and sort of bleeding out. Turns out the vampire blood won't heal him because it has a cure in him. Then Abby, she actually burns Enzo's body to sort of try and put a lid on the whole thing that she was talking about earlier. But I still think it's going to play a factor, going into the final couple episodes. Like I said, Katie burns the book. Damon also asks him if anyone ever earned their way out, So again, it makes me think of other characters that could potentially come back. But of course, Cade tells him not to get too hopeful. But now it appears like Stefan will be able to live out his, human life, however long that lasts. But it definitely makes Stefan very vulnerable going into the last few episodes. So I definitely see some self-sacrifice happening. But we talked about my feelings about that at the beginning of the review. And like I said, I really like the scene at the end with Matt and Bonnie, actually. It's rare for me to say I really like the scene involving Matt. But the acting was pretty good here. Matt is sort of comforting her about losing Enzo and such. It was fairly well acted. I thought Zach Rohrig and Kat Graham, of course. And also the store I work at, they have this little ad for, Kat Graham. She does some makeup, and modeling type of stuff as well. But there's a little picture of her in one of the displays at the store I work at, so that's awesome. Bonnie sort of finds comfort in it a little bit. It was a little bit awkward with Matt kissing her on the forehead, though. I don't know. And we have a pretty good scene between Stefan and Damon as well. Of course, Stefan coming back to the mansion, and them sort of sharing their thoughts on the recent events, and Stefan sort of asks Damon if there's any chance for them to find a true form of redemption. Damon says he believes there is, but you don't know if Damon's just saying that for Stefan's benefit and such, because all they've done over the years, no matter what good they do, can they ever really balance that out? But I think he sort of gotta try and do better the next day. I think if someone like Klaus can become a good person, I think there's room for them. But it's just about them sort of trying to move on, forgiving themselves as well. But it's definitely a complicated thing, and Cade might try to put him in hell anyway. Klaus would definitely help right now, but he's definitely a bit of a pickle right now himself on the originals. But hopefully we'll see some of the TBD people on the originals eventually, depending on how much longer the originals goes. And then we have Stefan. He's going to go to Bonnie's house and try the first steps to sort of move on. He doesn't really know what he's going to say to her. I'm guessing it probably would have been a pretty good scene, but Stefan is taken. We don't know by who. And then we have Damon showing Lark the weapon from Sybil, I had mentioned a few minutes ago. And then Kai shows up. We haven't seen him since season 6, connected to the whole Elena's sleeping curse and everything, or spell, whatever you want to call it. So it's definitely a nice surprise to see him, although it was spoiled for me. I seen him in the news feed. It was kind of hard to avoid when I had to wait till the next day to watch it. But still a nice surprise, and I was never that crazy about Kai, honestly. I've always thought Klaus is the best villain on the show. Of course, he's not a villain anymore, but I always thought he was definitely the most interesting and entertaining. But Kai, he was alright, and I think it makes sense to tie him in and bring him back, with the whole darkness thing being talked about. Then, of course, the hell thing coming up, it makes sense to bring someone like him back too. It should be interesting to see what goes on with him next week. So let me know what you guys thought about this episode. I thought it was a pretty good one. I liked it quite a bit. I'm going to rate it about an 8.8 out of 10. And so I'm really looking forward to these last 4 episodes, man. I'm eager to just get to the final episode, but at the same time, I am getting into more of a sentimental mindset to try and cherish what bit we have left as well, because Vampire Diaries, it seems like it's going to go out with a pretty solid season, and it's one of my favorite shows of all time. So we don't need to talk about that yet, though. No tears yet, okay? But yeah, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.